Yes, hopefully I'm audible and visible to everyone. Namaskar. Welcome everyone. Today I'm back and I wanted to do an absolute beginners training. So this is called Bengali Basics Absolute Beginners. I might change the title later. Let's see what comes through and how this goes. This lesson is for those who are starting out and maybe you know nothing or you just started learning Bengali. And this is going to walk you through some very, very, very basic concepts, the very first words, the very first sentences, and my intention is to walk you through each step of the absolute basics and make every step of the way clear. So that's what I'm looking forward to doing here. This is one of my favorite topics to do, absolute beginners, and it gives me a lot of joy to introduce the language fresh to a new learner or someone who has been looking forward to learning and haven't quite found that path. So let's begin. The way I want to deliver this, the best way for you to receive this would be to listen. Just listen. Listen to what I'm saying, how I'm saying everything, listen to the explanations, and make sure you just take in everything and just take it slow and let the language make an imprint inside of you if it's completely new, or if you have already learned some Bengali, just go over everything and see how it's layering on top of your existing knowledge. So let's begin. I'm going to begin with the very first word that you need to know in Bangla, which is ami. Ami. Ami means I, and that is the word you use to refer to yourself. So I am Rupkatha, that's my name. I would say Ami Rupkatha. Ami Rupkatha. Try it with your name. Ami, your name. Ami. So Ami is I. Next word is apni. 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 Apni means you. This is the word you use to refer to someone you're talking to, you, apni. So your second ever Bengali sentence could be apni Preeti. You are Preeti, for example. So you are Preeti would be apni Preeti. Apni Preeti. So imagine these two words being a part of set of all people, right? All people. You start with you, Ami, and then you move to the person you're talking to, you. So I, you, Ami, Apni. So if you're talking to someone and addressing them as you, there are various ways you can address them as you, depending on the relationship you have with them. This word that we learned, apni, is a respectful and a polite way to call someone or refer to someone as you. So if you are familiar with Spanish, Hindi, these sort of languages, French, other Indian languages, then you're familiar with the different levels of you and the various situations that you have to use them in. Similarly, Bangla has a few different levels of you or layers depending on the hierarchy of the people involved or the speaker's relationship with the listeners. So, apni is the one we're learning for now. It's the respectful and polite way to refer to someone as you. Apni. Ami, apni. I, you. Keep in mind that this you is a singular you. So you, one person, that's apni. You all of you, y'all, That's not apni. Apni is just one person, you. Ami, apni. So, what are the other levels of you, and who can you actually refer to with apni, the word? So, let's look at that. If you are learning Bangla for travel purposes, let's say you're coming to any Bengali speaking region and you want to interact with whoever's around and the locals, your host, and the people on the street, the travel situation. Apni would be useful. You can use this for shopkeepers or somebody on the street or any stranger that you're striking a conversation with, or if you have a host family, neighbors. So if you're initially unfamiliar with all the Bengali people, which likely would be the case, then you can use apni as the standard you with them. If you have um, if you have Bengalis around you already and you yourself do not speak the language, but people around you do, and you have known them for a while, maybe they're your friends, or you have a close relationship with them, or your family has a close relationship with them. In those cases, just follow what your family is doing and follow the norm around. Like, what are other people referring to them as? For example, if you have a Bengali friend, see how they are referring to the others. If they're using apni or some other less formal variation, then you can go ahead with that. Otherwise, if you are just interacting with a friend, then you can use the other version, which is not apni, and we'll see what that is. If you have grown up with Bengali friends around, then you probably already use the less formal version, the most informal version with them. If you are in a business setting, in an office situation, or let's say you are part of a temple, like you're part of ISKCON, for example, and you're interacting with the people there and everybody who are regulars there, and they're people you meet often, and you might be friendly, but it might be more appropriate to say apni in those kind of situations. If you have cousins, siblings, and anybody your age and your same like status, then you can use the less formal version with them. So hopefully that's clear. Apni is the word we learned. The layer below apni, which is not that formal, but it's still respectful, is Tumi. 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 So if I was friends with Preeti and we were close, I would say Tumi Preeti. You are Preeti. Tumi Preeti. Tumi. Tumi. When you say Tumi, just listen to how I'm saying it. The t sound is very soft. Tumi. 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 That is also you, and it is a more informal, more casual, a general way to say you. So apni, respectful, polite. Tumi, little less formal, still polite. Both mean you. So let's stick to these two for now. There's one more version of you. We will see that later. So ami, and then apni, tumi for you. So those are our three words. And the three sentences we did was ami with our name, tumi with the other person's name, and apni with the other person's name. Now, let's move on to asking someone, how are you? How are you? So all this knowledge is useful until you know how to actually say something to someone. So let's learn how to actually say something and ask them, how are you? So you, we already know, apni. So we're going to work with apni first. Apni. Then we need the questioning, how, and how are you? We'll see how that works in Bangla. So the question goes as, apni kemon achen? Apni kemon achen? when you ask this along with the tone of the question, it goes like, Apni kemon achen? Apni kemon achen? Apni kemon achen? See if you can hear all the three words distinctly in my flow of saying the question. Apni kemon achen? Apni kemon achen? The words here are Apni kemon achen. Apni kemon achen? Apni kemon achen? Apni means you. Kemon is the word for how, the question, how. Achen means is or are, the being. So, apni kemon achen. Apni kemon achen. If you compare it with the English order of sentences and questions, you'll see that the order is slightly different in Bangla. Apni comes first, kemon comes after that, and then achen. When you say achen, achen, the sound ch has a lot of air coming through. It's like cha as in children, but more air with it. So cha, cha. So practice that cha sound. The word is achen. Achen means is, are, the being indication. So apni kemon achen. This question means how are you? Apni kemon achen? Apni kemon achen? Apni kemon achen? So word by word, literally this means you, how, are. Those are the words here. Apni kemon achen? So you go up to someone and you see someone Bengali, and the first thing you can say is Apni kemon achen? Apni kemon achen? So how are you when you meet someone, right? That's how this goes. Apni kemon achen? The tone, make sure you hear the difference in the tone in this question and the tone in the language that maybe you are used to saying the same thing in. So, apni kemon achen? Apni kemon achen? Here you'll see that kemon is our question, right? That's the main focus of our question. We want to know how you are. How is the focus here? So, kemon, the word how, goes a little bit higher in tone. That's the observation you'll make here. Apni kemon achen? Apni kemon achen? If your focus was you, look, how are you? So in English, it can go one of these two ways that is most common when you ask someone how they are. First is, how are you? How are you? And the other way is, how are you? Right? So in both of these tones, the focus in the question, the focus word is different. Similarly in Bangla, you can focus on kemon, which is the usual way. You want to know how you are, how are you? That's apni kemon achen? Apni kemon achen? Or if your focus is you, how are you? Then you'll go apni kemon achen? Apni kemon achen? Okay, so our first question was apni kemon achen? Response to this would be I am good, right? I'm good, I'm well, I'm fine, I'm doing well, I'm good, I'm great. All of this will be the same expression, which goes like Ami bhalo achi. Ami bhalo achi. Ami bhalo achi. 3 words here. Also, Ami we already know is I. Bhalo means good or fine or well. That's bhalo. This bha sound, make sure you're saying it correctly. Bhalo. Bhalo. Ami bhalo achi. Achi. Achi means am. That's also the being indication word in this sentence. Ami bhalo achi. I good am. So like I mentioned about the order, the Bengali sentence order might be different from the order of words in the sentences in languages that maybe you are used to. So pay attention to what's happening here. The person is always coming in the beginning. right? Ami or apni. Ami bhalo achi. So the question, let's go back to what that was. Apni kemon achen? Ami bhalo achi. So just visualize these two sentences, one below the other. If you have the question, apni kemon achen, and the response is going, ami bhalo achi, you can draw a parallel between them. Apni versus ami. Kemon, bhalo, right? Kemon, how, bhalo, good. Achen and achi, they seem like similar words, right? They have this similar kind of sounds, and it seems like they have been derived from the same root, which is true. Achen was for, is, are, it was for when you were asking someone else something. For example, you are, right? In English, you would say you are, or he is, she is. But when it comes to I, you would always say am. So that am is achi in Bangla. For ami sentences, all ami sentences, it's going to be achi. So ami bhalo achi. Achi is that am. And in our question, apni kemon achen, this achen was are. How are you? Response, ami bhalo achi. So in the flow of your response in Bangla, it would go like, ami bhalo achi, ami bhalo achi, ami bhalo achi. The words are blending in a little bit. The end of a word is blending in with the beginning of the next word, which is very common if you are speaking in a language that you're a little bit fluent in, or you're just in the flow of speech. So, ami bhalo achi. Apni kemon achen? Ami bhalo achi. So, until now, it would have been planted in your brain what the question, how are you? And the response, I'm good, is. So whatever you want to say out of I'm good, I'm well, I'm fine, I'm doing well, all four of these will be expressed by ami bhalo achi in Bangla. So that's about how are you and I'm good. Now we used apni as you to ask how are you. So that is in general if you're talking to someone, any stranger, anybody on the street, anybody older to you, anybody you respect, anybody you're polite to, apni, right? Apni kemon achen. Let's say you want to use Tumi, right? So whatever the reason might be, maybe it's your friend, or it's somebody you know really well, it's someone in the family, someone you're close to, then you can use Tumi as the word you with them, which is a little less formal but still polite. It's a general way to say you. So how would you use the word Tumi in the question, how are you? So apni kemon achen now is going to change to its corresponding Tumi version. So let's see how that question goes. So remember, this still means how are you, just the you is changing. Tumi kemon acho. 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 So Tumi kemon acho. Tumi is you, kemon is how, acho means are. So how are you? Previously we saw apni kemon achen. Achen is the word are corresponding to apni. Tumi kemon acho. Acho is the word are corresponding to Tumi. So as the person in the sentence or question changes, the verb or the action that is linked with it also changes accordingly. So apni kemon achen and tumi kemon acho both mean how are you. The response to this will still be ami bhalo achi, I am good. That there's only one way to say I, that's ami, so the response is going to stay the same. Ami bhalo achi. All right. So far we learned 3 words that indicate people. Ami, apni, tumi. We learned 1 word that indicates a question. Kemon. That means how. And And we learned 3 words that indicate being: is, am, are. Being, how somebody is, or how they are, how I am. That's the, in general, it's called the being, be verb. And that word is achen, achi, and acho. Achen, apni achen. Acho is for tumi. Tumi acho. Ami achi. So those are the 3 forms of the being verb that we learned: is, am, are verb. So achi is am, and acho, achen mean are, corresponding to the 2 you words that we have learned. Which means these words, when used at the end of the sentence, achen. For example, we now know that achen only corresponds to apni. Apni kemon achen. You would not say tumi kemon achen. That is incorrect. Tumi kemon acho is correct. So achen tells us that the sentence or the question has apni in the beginning. The same way, if you start with apni, you end with achen for sure. So if you look at achen, you know it's an apni sentence for sure. Same with acho. If you start with tumi, you end with acho. If you look at acho, you know it's a tumi sentence. Same with ami. You start with ami, you end with achi. So if you look at achi, you know it's an ami sentence. So what we can do then is, when we make the sentence shorter, or we're just speaking informally and we're omitting some words in the flow of our speech, we can remove the people and the rest of the sentence would still make sense. So apni kemon achen, if you remove apni and simply say kemon achen, it would still make the same sense as the full question. Apni kemon achen and kemon achen. Achen is already telling us that the apni is there, it exists, even though it's omitted in this speech. So it is implied. Apni kemon achen is the same as kemon achen. Similarly, tumi kemon acho is the same as kemon acho, kemon acho. This is probably a phrase that if you do not know much in Bangla, this is probably something you know. Kemon acho. So this is where this comes from. You now know the whole structure, and now you know how we ended up with kemon acho. Kemon acho. Kemon acho. How are you? The you is omitted, but it's implied here. So when you're responding to this, you can say ami bhalo achi, or if you remove ami and simply say bhalo achi, that would still make complete sense. Bhalo achi, bhalo achi. Apni kemon achen? Ami bhalo achi. Tumi kemon acho? Ami bhalo achi. Kemon achen? Bhalo achi. Or kemon acho? Bhalo achi. You can have any combinations of these as you wish, and we don't really think about this much. We just say whatever flows in the moment. So that's all about how are you, and I'm great, I'm fine. If you want to say I'm very good, I'm very well, I'm doing great, then you can add the word for very, which is khub. Khub. K is the sound in the beginning. Khub, which is made by passing more air through the k sound. K, khub, khub, and it ends with the b. Khub, khub. This means very. Khub. So khub bhalo means very good. When you say khub and bhalo one after the other, if the sounds blend in, at the end of khub with the beginning of bhalo, pay attention how it's sounding when I'm saying it. Khub bhalo, khub bhalo, khub bhalo, khub bhalo, khub bhalo. So ami bhalo achi will now become ami khub bhalo achi. And if you omit the ami, it would be khub bhalo achi, khub bhalo achi. So that's like saying, I'm very well. If you just remove achi from the end and you just say, khub bhalo, that still makes sense. That's like, very well. How are you? Very well. That makes sense also. So you can say, khub bhalo or khub bhalo achi or ami khub bhalo achi. That's how you would add khub and indicate very or like great, very good or great. So, আমি খুব ভালো আছি. Now you want to ask this question back to them, right? Somebody asked, how are you? You said, I'm great. And how are you? So we need the word and we need to change our tone to reflect the same question back towards them. So in English, this would go something like, how are you? I'm great. How are you? Right? So let's look at the tone in Bangla. And before that, the word for and is are. 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 Are means and. Are. So, how would you say me and you? Can you just try that? Me and you. I and you. How would you say that? Ami, ar, apni. Or ami, ar, tumi. Ami, ar, apni. Ami, ar, tumi. So ar is the word for and. Now, let's say, and how are you? আর আপনি কেমন আছেন? আর আপনি কেমন আছেন? আর আপনি কেমন আছেন? So remember, when your focus is on the word you, the tone on that word goes a little higher. So you can say it like, আর আপনি কেমন আছেন? আর আপনি কেমন আছেন? আর আপনি কেমন আছেন? And how are you? Let's cut it shorter. You can just omit the rest of the sentence and simply say ar apni and you. That makes sense also, because now the context has already been created in the conversation and it is already implied what you're referring to. So even if you omit the rest of the question and just say ar apni, that would make sense also. And you, how are you? Ar apni kemon achen? Ar apni? And then they would say, what would they say? They would say, I'm also doing well, or I'm good too, or I'm also fine. I'm very great as well. So they're going to say also, or they're going to say too, or as well, because they're repeating the same answer that you gave. Hopefully they're also doing well. So what would they say in that case? How will you say, I'm also doing well, or I'm great as well? What's the word for that? The way to indicate also in Bangla is, let's back up a minute and see what is also really. What is also? If you already have something and you have another of the same thing, then you say also. Or if you just add another, you say also, like this and also that. Oops. This and also this. Me and also you. I want this and also that. So it's an addition. Something is being added to or repeated. So they are saying, in this situation, you are good and also me. So also me, right? The same thing is repeated for me. In Bangla, how we indicate also is the thing that's being repeated. In this case, the person, ami, I'm also fine. The thing that's being repeated is added with the letter O at the end of the word. So me too is amio. Amio. Also me, that's amio. Ami means I. Me too is amio. You too is apnio. You come too, right? Apnio or tumio. So the sentence for I'm good is ami bhalo achi. The sentence for I'm also good is amio bhalo achi. Amio bhalo achi. Okay? So the conversation so far that we learned it goes like this. There's you, there's another person. Somebody asks you, আপনি কেমন আছেন? You respond, আমি ভালো আছি, আর আপনি কেমন আছেন? And they say, আমিও ভালো আছি. Okay, so let's try this between ourselves. I'm going to say I'm going to be person one, the first person, and I'm going to ask you the question. You respond. I'm going to assume you asked me back how I am, and I'm going to answer accordingly. So let's start. আপনি কেমন আছেন? আমিও খুব ভালো আছি. Hopefully that worked and you got it. So it goes like, আপনি কেমন আছেন? আমি ভালো আছি, আর আপনি কেমন আছেন? আমিও খুব ভালো আছি. Okay, so that's how to say how are you in Bangla. We learned apni and tumi both. So in the last example conversation, you can switch it with tumi and say it like, tumi kemon acho? Ami bhalo achi. Ar tumi kemon acho? Amio khub bhalo achi. Okay, so hopefully you could understand that and everything made sense so far. I think I'll close this here and I'll continue in another part. Let me know how this was for the basic beginners and those who already knew all of these concepts. Let me know if this added anything to your knowledge and how you found this training. So I'm going to end this here. I'm going to see you next time. Thank you for staying until the end. Namaskar. Bye.